The sage does not argue, therefore no one can argue with him. He bends but does not break. He yields and remains whole. Lao Tzu. There's a story from ancient China about two monks traveling together on a long journey. One monk talked constantly, debating every point, correcting every error. The other monk walked in silence, listening to everything, responding to nothing. After many days, the talkative monk grew frustrated with his companion's eternal quietness and lack of engagement. "Why do you never argue with me?" The first monk demanded. "Do you think my ideas are beneath response? Do you agree with everything I say?" The silent monk smiled gently and replied, "I do not argue because there is nothing to win. You speak, I listen. The river flows around the rock. Does the river argue with the stone about which path is correct? Does the bamboo debate with the wind about which direction it should blow from?" This simple exchange reveals one of the most profound and misunderstood principles in Taoist philosophy: the power of yielding, the strength found in non-resistance, the victory achieved through surrender. In Western culture, we are taught that strength means standing firm, holding your ground, never backing down, fighting for what you believe, winning every argument and debate. We see yielding as weakness, bending as cowardice, silence as defeat. We equate aggression with power, force with effectiveness, domination with success in all arenas of life. But the Taoist masters observed nature carefully for thousands of years and discover the opposite truth. The hard and rigid things break. The soft and flexible things survive. The Tao Te Ching states, "A person is born soft and weak. At death they are hard and stiff. Plants are born tender and supple. At death they are dry and brittle. Thus whoever is stiff and inflexible is a disciple of death. Whoever is soft and yielding is a disciple of life." This is not philosophical poetry. This is observable truth. The tallest, strongest tree, the oak, breaks in a storm. The flexible bamboo bends completely and springs back unharmed. The rigid rock standing in the river remains unmoved for years, proud and strong. But water, soft and yielding, slowly carves into nothing over time and patience. Water never fights the rock. It simply flows around it, over it, through every crack and crevice. It does not argue about the correct path. It takes every path. And eventually, the rock that refused to yield becomes sand. The water that yielded to every obstacle remains water, unchanged, victorious through patience rather than force applied directly. The ancient strategist Sun Tzu understood this principle in warfare. He wrote, "The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting at all. To win 100 victories in 100 battles is not the highest skill. To subdue the enemy without fighting is the highest skill and truest mastery." How do you subdue without fighting? By yielding, by appearing weak when you are strong, by giving ground when pressed, by flowing around resistance rather than meeting it. The opponent attacks empty space. They exhaust themselves striking at nothing. They become confused, frustrated, vulnerable. You remain centered, preserved, waiting for the natural moment to act decisively. This is the essence of martial arts like Tai Chi and Aikido. You do not block the strike with force. You redirect it, using the attacker's energy against them. When they push, you pull. When they pull, you push. When they expect resistance, you yield. They fall from their own force because they meet nothing to resist against. In arguments and debates, this principle is even more powerful. When someone attacks your position verbally, your instinct is to defend, to counterattack, to prove them wrong immediately. But watch what happens. The more you resist their argument, the harder they push. The more you fight, the more entrenched they become in their position permanently. The argument escalates. Voices rise. Logic disappears. Egos engage. Now you are not discussing ideas. You are defending identity. Neither person can yield without feeling they have lost something precious. The Taoist approach is completely different. When someone argues, do not argue back. Listen completely. Acknowledge their perspective without defending your own position yet. Yield the ground they want taken. This is not agreement. This is strategic yielding. Like water flowing around a rock, you are not changing your nature. You are simply not resisting their force unnecessarily. Something remarkable happens. The person loses the energy that comes from resistance. They came prepared for a fight. You offered none. Their momentum carries them into empty space. Often they will argue themselves into confusion because they have no opponent to sharpen their thoughts against. They must face their own logic without your resistance creating clarity. Zhuangzi told of a master swimmer who never fought the current. When asked his secret, he said, "I go down with the whirlpool and come up with the surge. I accommodate myself to the water, not the water to me. This is how I survive what would drown others who fight against the natural force and flow." In relationships, this wisdom transforms everything. When your partner is angry, your instinct is to defend yourself, explain your actions, prove you are right and they are wrong. This resistance meets their force head-on. Both people push harder. The argument grows. Nothing resolved because both are rigid. Neither will yield. Both must win at all costs. But if you yield, not in surrender, but in understanding, if you listen without defending, acknowledge without arguing, allow their anger to flow around you like water around stone, the energy dissipates naturally. Anger requires resistance to sustain itself. Without fuel from your counter-anger, it burns out quickly. Space opens for actual communication, rather than combat alone. This does not mean accepting abuse or abandoning your truth. It means not adding your rigidity to their rigidity, not creating a collision that benefits neither person involved. The bamboo does not abandon its nature when it bends in the wind. It remains bamboo. It simply does not break itself by insisting the wind should stop. When the wind passes, the bamboo returns to its original position, unchanged, unharmed. The tree that insisted on standing rigid now lies broken on the forest floor forever. In the workplace, this principle determines who rises and who falls. The employee who argues with every criticism, defends every action, never admits any fault. They may feel strong, righteous, uncompromising, but they are rigid. They break when pressure increases. They cannot adapt because adaptation feels like defeat to their rigid ego and pride. The employee who listens to criticism without immediate defense, who yields to feedback, who bends to changing circumstances. They appear weaker but prove far stronger over time and through challenges, because they can adapt, they can flow, they can survive changes that break the rigid. They win not by fighting every battle, but by remaining flexible enough to weather all storms. The I Ching teaches, in yielding there is strength. The weak can overcome the strong. The flexible can overcome the rigid. This is the way of water and life itself. A gentle stream will cut through the hardest mountain given enough time, not through force, but through persistent gentle yielding that never stops, never tires, never breaks itself trying. Modern psychology confirms this ancient wisdom. Studies show that people who practice non-defensive communication, who listen without immediately countering, create deeper trust and resolve conflicts faster than those who argue, because arguing activates defensive mechanisms in the brain. The other person stops listening and starts defending. No information passes between you. Only weapons exchange across a battlefield daily. But yielding, genuine listening without resistance, signals safety. The other person's defenses lower. Real communication becomes possible. Understanding flows where argument only created walls before. This changes everything completely. The Tao Te Ching states, "I have 3 treasures which I hold and keep. The first is mercy. The second is economy. The third is humility, not presuming to be ahead." That third treasure, not presuming to be first, not insisting on being right, not requiring victory in every encounter. This is a yielding that preserves you when rigidity would destroy completely. Think of great leaders throughout history. The dictators who never yielded, never bent, never compromised. Where are they? Dead, overthrown, remembered as cautionary tales of rigidity meeting inevitable change. The leaders who yielded strategically, who bent when wisdom required it, who chose their battles carefully, they endured. They adapted. They remained whole through transformations that shattered the inflexible around them. Nelson Mandela yielded 27 years in prison. He could have remained rigid in bitterness, broken by injustice. Instead, he yielded to circumstances while maintaining his inner truth completely and powerfully. When he emerged, he was not broken but strengthened. He yielded again, choosing reconciliation over revenge. This yielding won what fighting never could have achieved in decades of struggle. The paradox the Taoists understood: yielding is not losing. Yielding is the only way to remain whole when greater forces move against you that cannot be stopped by resistance. You do not yield your essence, your truth, your core. You yield the need to prove it constantly, to defend it aggressively, to force others to acknowledge it. Like bamboo, you remain bamboo while bending. Like water, you remain water while flowing around obstacles. Your nature does not change. Your rigidity does, freeing you from breaking unnecessarily. In practice, this means choosing carefully what deserves resistance and what deserves yielding. Not everything requires your defense. Not every argument needs your participation in the conflict. Not every challenge needs direct confrontation. Ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? Will fighting this preserve something essential? Or am I defending ego, pride, the need to be right rather than happy? Most arguments are ego defending itself against perceived threat. They have nothing to do with truth, with what matters, with what actually requires protection through active defense and engagement. The sage does not argue because the sage has no ego requiring defense. The sage's truth is not threatened by other people's opinions or beliefs about any subject. Like the sky unmoved by storms passing through it, like the mountain unchanged by snow covering its peak. The sage's inner truth remains regardless of external opposition encountered along the way. So the sage yields, not because weak, but because strong enough to not need rigidity, flexible enough to survive what breaks the brittle, wise enough to know yielding is victory. The ultimate teaching from the Tao: the softest things in the world overcome the hardest. That which has no substance enters where there is no space available otherwise. Your thoughts cannot be argued with if you do not engage in argument. Your peace cannot be disturbed if you do not resist disturbance. Your truth cannot be threatened if you trust it. Practice yielding. When someone argues, listen completely without planning your response. When someone pushes, step aside rather than push back. When someone attacks, flow around rather than meet with force. This feels wrong initially. Every instinct screams to defend, to fight, to prove yourself right. This is ego speaking. This is rigidity fearing the flexibility that would save it from breaking. Watch what happens when you yield. The energy that would have been spent in argument remains yours. The relationship that would have been damaged by collision remains intact and whole. The truth you would have fought to prove simply remains, needing no defense. And you remain whole, unbroken, preserved through yielding when fighting would have shattered you completely and permanently. The Taoist masters never argued not because they had no opinions or truths worth defending. They never argued because they understood the deepest truth of all about existence. Water is softer than rock, yet water wins. Bamboo is weaker than oak, yet bamboo survives. Yielding is gentler than fighting, yet yielding conquers what fighting only destroys in the end. The sage does not argue, therefore no one can argue with him. He bends but does not break. He yields and remains whole. This is the power of the modern world for God. Thank you for watching. If this ancient wisdom challenged your understanding of strength and weakness, please subscribe and like this video.